What if a massive war was just minutes away from starting, and almost nobody knew it was even happening? Well, that's the incredible story we're diving into today. A story about a conflict that was allegedly stopped dead in its tracks by a single, powerful message.
Okay, let's just jump right into the most stunning claim. According to the source for this explainer, this was the message that went out at the absolute height of tensions. I mean, think about that. An ultimatum that suggests the entire region was just half an hour away from a truly catastrophic war.
Now, it's really important to be clear about where this is all coming from. This entire explainer is breaking down the story as it was reported by one source, the YouTube channel Hakikat TV. Our job here isn't to prove or disprove their claims, but to simply unpack the story they're telling, a story of a night that, according to them, brought the world to the very brink.
So let's get into the nitty-gritty of what supposedly went down. The first part of this whole narrative is all about how a massive war was somehow stopped just in time.
The report from Hakikat TV claims this was way more than just political threats. They say that on the night of April 16th, Iran was completely ready to go. According to their account, missiles were in place, targets were locked, and every system was greenlit for a huge strike. And the source pinpoints the exact moment the fuse was lit. 8 p.m. That's when they claim the final message was sent. A deadline was set, and in this version of events, a 30-minute clock officially started ticking down.
This brings us to the real heart of the crisis, as Hakikat TV describes it. They say this wasn't just another warning, no, this was what they're calling the 30-minute ultimatum.
So, just so we're all on the same page, what exactly is an ultimatum? Well, it's basically a final offer, a take-it-or-leave-it demand, where there's no more room to talk. You either do what's asked, or you face the consequences. And in the story we're looking at, the consequence was all-out war.
What's pretty wild about the timeline they lay out is just how fast everything supposedly happened. At 8 p.m., the message goes out. They claim just minutes later, there's a frantic, direct call from Washington to Tel Aviv. And the result? According to the source, a 10-day ceasefire was announced to the public, all within that tiny 30-minute window.
And get this, the threat they describe wasn't just aimed at one country. According to this report, the plan had two phases. Phase 1 was the strike on Israel. But Phase 2? Well, that's when things would have escalated massively, targeting and destroying U.S. military bases across the entire region.
So, if we take this story as it's told, what happens next? What's the fallout from a night like that? Well, this brings us to the next chapter in their narrative, a new power dynamic. The claim is that this one event completely flipped the script.
And right here is the key takeaway, at least from the perspective of this source. They claim Iran had a major realization, that both America and Israel were deeply afraid of a direct attack. So, as the source puts it, they decided we must use this as our weapon. In this story, fear itself becomes the new leverage.
And one of the first big, real-world consequences of this alleged night, according to the Hakikat TV narrative, is all about the Strait of Hormuz. The report claims that Iran has now asserted full control and is making every single ship that passes through pay a fee directly to them.
So with all this supposed new leverage, the story goes that Iran is no longer just reacting to things. Now, it's the one setting the rules for any kind of permanent deal. So let's take a look at what the report says is Iran's new list of demands.
And here are the reported terms. Number 1, unfreeze all of its money around the world. 2, lift every single economic sanction. 3, pay up for past damages. 4, a solid guarantee that there will be no future attacks from the U.S. or Israel. And finally, 5, a guarantee of no future attacks on its allies, Hezbollah and Yemen.
And that demand for damages, yeah, that's not a small number. The specific figure the report mentions is a jaw-dropping $250 billion. That's the price tag they're allegedly putting on the table before any real peace talks can even begin.
Okay, so we've got the story of the event itself, and we've got the supposed consequences. But there's another really critical layer to all this, one that the source spends a lot of time on: the battle over controlling the narrative.
This right here really gets to the heart of the sources argument. You've basically got two totally different stories. On one side, there's what they call the official story, the one you might see in the mainstream news. And on the other side, you have their version of the real story, that an ultimatum born out of fear forced a ceasefire, and that Iran is now the one calling the shots.
So why would there be two completely different versions of the same night? Well, the source has a pretty simple answer. It's all about who owns the microphone. This chart shows their argument visually, that U.S., European, and Israeli media control about 95% of the global story, which means the 5% coming from Iranian media just gets drowned out.
And that really brings us full circle. We've just walked through one channel's incredibly detailed, dramatic telling of a single night. It's a powerful story for sure, but it's just that, one narrative from one source. It really leaves us with a big question, doesn't it? What happens when the stories we're told about war are so completely different? And who gets to decide which one is the truth?